this lane, this lane, this lane, this lane. I think.
I would like to challenge Matt Bozak.
Scotty Bull.
Jason Belmonte.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to Bowling with the FEF, a platform for you to share your unique bowling story live on our YouTube channel. So much going on right now in the world of bowling, especially the professional side, without any of these pros having thrown a ball down a lane. It's amazing how all this stuff kind of comes at the nexus of when this show airs, but I guess my good luck on that, right? Connor Brown, I know, has been hanging with us for a little bit. Good evening. I'm doing great. Hope you're doing good as well. And I know we were a little delayed tonight. Brian Hirsch out there says, no worries. Thank you. Just kind of working through a little tech issue. Jay's with us as usual. Hello. Hope you're doing well tonight. And like I said, just a ton going on in the world of bowling right now. And we got to start out with the announcement earlier today that the 2024 PBA Tour schedule is now live. It's announced. It's out there, and let the debate begin about how it should have been and all that stuff, because you know that's coming. Here are some of the dates and locations that we've got. Again, like I said, this morning the PBA put out the schedule. Has 2 of the 5 majors in the season right off the bat in January and February. The Players' Championship kicks off the year in Wichita starting on January 9th. Then the U.S. Open follows in Indianapolis at the end of that month in the beginning of February. The closest event to Wisconsin follows with the PBA Illinois Classic in Mount Prospect that first full week of February. The USBC Masters hits in Vegas at the end of March. Then the 15th World Series of Bowling, remember the World Series of Bowling had been in Wauwatosa for the past 2 years, moved to Allen Park, Michigan, and that takes up much of April, with the World Championship ending on April 21st. Now, I did reach out to Commissioner Tom Clark today to ask why the move from Wauwatosa to Michigan, and he messaged me simply, better center. The Tournament of Champions is returning to AMF Riviera Lanes in Fair Lawn, Ohio right after that. Then you've got the return of the PBA playoffs to the schedule in 2024, with a couple stretches in May, but the location has yet to be announced. Then the PBA Tour Final, which also doesn't have a location yet, but it will be in June. I did ask Clark if there's any chance that the events that currently don't have a venue could end up in Wisconsin. He responded that it's doubtful that the tour will be in Milwaukee next year. And then the PBA Elite League wraps things up in September with an expanded format that we don't have details on just yet. But that's going to bring league events that count toward the seeding into the tour season. So a little different flavor for the PBA League, or the Elite League as it were right now. But the playoffs will be in September at Bayside Bowl in Portland, Maine, as it has been for many years. So there's the schedule, and hopefully everybody gets a chance to at least see some of these events on TV. Lots of opportunity for that. Of course, Bowl TV also carrying PBA Tour events and some of the other events throughout the course of the year, PBA regionals, juniors, things like that. Brian says no chance that they will go back there to Bolero Wauwatosa. And can't say I was incredibly surprised on that, too. That's kind of why I asked the question at the end of USA versus the World. Should the PBA go back to Bolero Wauwatosa? Turns out they won't, at least for now. So we will see where they end up for those TBA events. And but other than that, we've got a handle on the 2024 season. It starts in January. Can't wait. Well, this month is a special month here at Bowling with the FEF because it is Feftacular Month, a tradition that goes way back a year. The Feftacular is an event that debuted last November in Menominee Falls, Wisconsin at the Country Club of Bowling, Village Bowl, a center where I used to work. There is the home of the team called Serbskis Club, and you saw them on our show about a year ago. And during that show, the Serbskis suggested that I sub for their team. Well, looking at my work schedule and other commitments and things like that, and they bowl Wednesday nights, by the way, the ideal night for me was the night before Thanksgiving because we all had off on Thanksgiving Day. And we had so much fun with it that we decided to make it a yearly thing. So this year, for Feftacular number 2, we're going to live stream it. So if you're in the Milwaukee area, feel free to join us. 6:30 is when league starts. There will be hilarity, all the good goofy stuff that you may know and may love with the Serbskis Club if you've seen their page on Facebook. And if you can't make it there, come to the channel. We'll have it live. We'll have some special guests and a lot of fun going on the night before Thanksgiving. It is Wednesday, November 22nd, again, 6:30 Central Time is when we are going on the web, on the air, with Feftacular number 2. Well, Bowling with the Fef is brought to you by Chip Magnet Salsa, a family business in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, distributing salsa, relish, and a whole lot more to stores in more than 38 states and Canada. Now, if it's not in your grocery store, they do have a website, chipmagnetsalsa.com, and they've got a great deal for Bowling with the Fef viewers. If you're new to Chip Magnet Salsa, you go online, spend at least $30 in salsa and other products. They'll give you 20% off if you use the promo code BWTF2023 at checkout. Limit one order per email address. The holidays are coming up, and nothing goes quite as well under the tree or on the table as the terrific flavor and fresh taste of Chip Magnet Salsa. Chip Magnet, raise your snack standards, and a big fat thank you to Chip Magnet Salsa for sponsoring Bowling with the Fef. Well, our guest tonight has a heck of a bowling story that he's added a pretty significant chapter to since the last time we talked to him on this show. Episode 96 guest and PBA Hall of Famer Len Nicholson is a former director of lane maintenance for the PBA on tour there. He was the tournament director in the PBA's Western region for 9 years. He has written 10 books. He's also the host, producer, and creator of Phantom Radio, a weekly podcast with more than 1,250 episodes in the archives so far. I was lucky enough to have a guest spot on 2 of them, and you can find Phantom Radio on this website, kegel.net/phantom. It's also on all the podcast platforms that you love out there, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, et cetera, et cetera. Now, in March of this year, Len started up an endeavor that is the basis of tonight's episode, which we are calling... I'm trying to find my little video open here, which of course is not all that handy at the moment. So what we'll do is we'll just add him to the stage. We'll bring him out here. Len Nicholson. He is known as the Phantom, if you couldn't tell by the title of his show, Phantom Radio. But the Phantom returns tonight. So welcome, Len, to another episode of Bowling with the Fef.
Well, thank you very much, Fef. It's a pleasure, an honor to have me back on your show again. And, it's my fault that we didn't get on time. Oh, because you mentioned a guy's name that I wish was here, Brian Hirsch. He's my right-hand man. I don't know anything about the computer. He doesn't tell me everything because he wants to keep his job, I guess. He doesn't want anybody to learn anything. Yeah. I try to teach him all I know, but he's great. He's involved with the juniors that I started up back in March, like you mentioned. Before we get going on all this, I don't know how long the show is tonight, but I got about 22 hours worth of information I want to give you. But you shut me down as soon as you want, all right? But
okay,
I'm going to start off by being a promo guy, and I'm not really one of them kind of guys. But your sponsor, Chip Magnet, after your show last time I was on air, I says I got to order some of me that stuff because I love salsa, and I ordered it, and I had my son over. He took 2 jars. I told my friend Sam Villarreal about it. He got 2 of my jars, and it's all gone. So I'm going to.
Did you get any for yourself?
Yeah, I had like 4 jars myself. But the lady across the street who cooks for me now and then, she's 80 years old, but she's a beautiful woman. She feels sorry for me. She brings me food all night, And so like tonight she was going to bring it at 5. I says, I'm going to be busy at 5. So she brought it at 4:30. And
Wow.
it's the best stuff I ever seen. And I love salsa, and I'll never run out of that thing again because I'm going to order again as soon as we get off the phone. But anyway, that's one thing I wanted to say. And I also wanted to say that, and I already did actually, about Brian. He's one heck of he knows everything that's going on. And I mentioned the other fellow that's involved. That's Sam Villarreal. He's that artist guy that draws caricatures of everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And before you start throwing a bunch of questions at me, I also want to thank the man that really helped us get the whole thing started with the juniors is Dave Kowalski. He's a Hall of Fame coach out of Michigan, and he's just everybody up there loves him. So I want to throw him a high five because without him, we wouldn't have anything going. But go ahead, fire away. I'm ready.
Oh man, well, we've already got the questions or the comments rolling in. So Jay says about the Feftacular, that's Feftastic, which is awesome. I hope Jay, I hope you'll tune in when we go live on the 22nd. Brian says also with the Pete Lumberjack and LBC leaving that center, that shows the center cannot handle those events. He's talking about Bolero Wauwatosa. Derek Michaud is bowling while watching. This is his league night out there. He says that you are one of the nicest people, and he says, love you, buddy. You've been on his show, and I know he holds you in very high regard.
Well, I appreciate that. You know, I've never met him in person, just like you.
Yeah.
We're all one big family, and we're all here to try to promote this game that we love. And without people like us doing this thing, I don't know what would happen. But, you know, I've been told this many times. Why do you invite people onto your show? They got a podcast too. I said, we're all in the same boat, you know.
Yep.
You don't want to shut the thing down. We want to promote it as much as we can. We've lost enough bowlers as it is, so we got to hustle them up and get them back in. So
for sure,
that's about it. But give them all my best. Anybody that's sending any questions in, I'm ready for you, partner.
Absolutely. Connor Brown says he is a big fan of Phantom Radio. Says he listens to it every day. I can see why. It's an excellent listen. If those of you out there haven't given it a shot, it's great stuff.
Well, thank you. You know, just one thing, we might have talked about it last time I was on, but when I left the PBA, John Davis asked me what I was going to do. I says, I'm going to go out to California. I'm going to play some golf. I'm going to open up a little bit of a bowling thing and help people with their lanes, recoat lanes, stuff like that. He goes, come to work with me. I says, I don't want to do lanes. He says, you don't have to. I said, what do you want me to do? He says, I want you to tell everybody what you know. He says, because you've been around a long time, you like to tell stories. And I says, I can't just do nothing, John. He says, well, why don't we start a website? He didn't have that. And okay, so we started a website. And he says, how else are we going to pass along information? I said, I don't know. So we got together with the computer guy down there, and we started doing this podcast. Yeah. And the deal was we were going to interview people in all walks of the bowling circle. I started with coaches. Actually, the second guy I had was a news guy, and that was a stranger, somebody well-known, Tom Clark. He used to do articles in newspapers down in Florida, and then he went to work for the ABC back in Milwaukee back in the day. And so we've had coaches, we've had proprietors, we had business leaders. Anybody that has anything positive to say about bowling, they come on. We've tried different amounts of time. 15 minutes, that was not near enough. 30 minutes for us, for some reason, if it wasn't really an exciting show, we saw that they were turning it off after 20, 25 minutes because people don't have a whole lot of patience. So we try to involve not only, some of the things that are going on, but we polled all of our listeners and found out they love bowling tips and they love bowling stories.
Yeah. So
that's what we throw out there most every time. We just did a show last week. In fact, it's on right now with Bob Johnson. And after the show, he says, I've been on 100 different interviews. He said, that was the best one ever. Not because I'm on it, he said, but you talked about Bill Chrisman. It was serious. and we talked about funny things. We talked about donations to the museum. We talked about 4 or 5 different things, and it was a variety show. He said it was all wonderful. So that's what we try to do, Fev.
Yeah, and it's fantastic. Like I said, I'm an avid listener, and hopefully those of you out there who haven't had the pleasure of listening to it yet will get on the stick there and do it. Brian says he's not lying, talking about the computer knowledge, of course. He says Chris only took 2
what?
jars of salsa.
Oh, yeah. No, that's all he took. Yeah. In fact, he smuggled them out of my house one at a time.
Without you knowing.
I didn't know it. After we had a big Mexican food dinner, and we ate at least 1 jar that night. And I'll tell you what, the one with the fruit in there, I can't remember the name of the fruit, but it's yellow.
Mango habanero?
Oh, my God. That was gone in like 5 minutes.
Jay says nothing beats it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, it's great stuff. And while we're on that topic of, promoting things, I don't know if you noticed the shirt I'm wearing. I know it's not apparent because I'm facing the camera, but I took a picture of the back just so you could see that is the Mr. 900 Glenn Allison shirt that you sent over. So thank you for that. Yeah,
that's a souvenir shirt. It's one of a kind with his pose in the back and all that. And I bought 2 of them, to tell you the truth, because his friend Jerry Hale, who used to be on the tour, is the best friend of Glenn. And I had them on the show one time. We promoted his shirt, and I ordered a couple of them. So I'm giving you one. I'm not giving the other one to anybody else. I might put it in my will, but I only wear that to special events. But I've got another special event shirt. I'm wearing it tonight. And I'm going to tell you about it because you brought it up. But
I'm putting you on full screen just so we can see it better.
Oh, okay. So there's a website with Sherry White, and every Wednesday I go on there and they ask me questions. And if they come up with something that I answer, I send them a prize of some kind of a bowling prize. Yeah. And they made this shirt for me special. I'm not much of a model, but it's a bells and balls and babes. And on the back, it says the Phantom, which that's my nickname because they named me that back in 1972 because I was a lane man. Nobody ever saw me work, so they called me the Phantom. So,
well, that's awesome, and I see you've got the logo on there for the Junior Bowling Club, which is great too.
Yes, I do. I think Brian might have been involved in this too, but he's a behind-the-scenes guy. Although he tries to be in every scene, this guy's everywhere. I can't ever find him. He tells me, I says, I want this done. He says, I'm busy. And then I look, he's got 18 ads going on the webcast, everybody's Facebook page. I don't know what he does, but he stays busy, and he's got a great wife, and his young man's son, Mason, even though he's a lefty, I still love the little guy.
Well, he's a good Wisconsin boy, just like me, and can't say enough about that because Wisconsin's fantastic. I want to know, kind of the story about the Junior Bowling Club, since we kind of tackled the lion's share of your personal story last time you were on. This has all kind of started and gotten traction since then. So let's kind of go back to the origins of the Phantom Radio Junior Bowling Club. It must have started with some kind of idea or thought or something like that, right?
Well, it did, but it didn't really. It was like coffee. It didn't percolate till the end there. But I grew up in San Francisco, and my dad taught me all the sports, baseball, football, basketball, everything. And he was a fundamentalist, taught me all the fundamentals of all those sports. And he also taught me a lot about hanging around with the right people. San Francisco, pretty big city back in the day. He always told me, he says, if you got 2 friends, one of them negative, one of them's positive, the negative one will drag you down eventually. And so just hang around positive people. And, as it turned out, that was 80 years ago. But it turned out that he was right about, I don't know, at least 40 people I knew that were halfway decent athletes, halfway decent people, but they went the wrong way and they ended up in a bad situation. And there's a lot of ways to be in a bad situation, but I've always found myself loving all sports and loving all the good people. Okay. So I've been fortunate that way that I've never been injured that bad or nothing like that. But I played baseball, football, and basketball in high school. Then I was all league in football and baseball. And then when I was a junior, they opened the bowling center right next door. And so, heck, I got to try this. It's a sport. So I went down there every day. We watched them build it. And the very first day, the lady, she was a coach, she signed up all the kids and said, okay, I'll call you during the week. So she called us all up, went down for the junior leagues, and they put me on a team. It was a doubles team. And I don't know why, but they put me on a guy named Billy Hardwick. And he was 5'3", 99 pounds. I was 6'2", 190 pounds. I was twice as big as him. And I'm thinking, this little guy, what's he going to do? Well, he was very competitive. He had desire in the whole 9 yards. And so we bowled all summer. I told him to come out for the football team. Well, he said, I'm too small. And the coach wouldn't give him a uniform. So he held the bag, during practice. And I knocked him down and stepped on his foot. He told me he hated me. And so time went by. Here's the littlest guy. He became the best athlete of all the guys in school. He was the little guy because of his desire and determination. But I started following him on the tour. In the first year, he bowled, and he was terrible. 0 for 17, never cashed. So he came home. I said, what are you going to do now? He says, I'm going to work on my game. I'm going to go back out there and beat him. I said, what, Carter and Weber and all those guys? Yeah, I'm going to beat him. Sure you are. We laughed. He goes, no, never laugh at me. And the next year, he was bowler of the year. And I thought, wow, what a mind this guy's got. He didn't have a real good game. His fundamentals weren't good, but he learned how to throw the ball in the pocket. And I just idolized him. And all through the 60s, he was probably the top bowler in the 60s, counting all those guys. And I went through a divorce in 1969 and moved back there with him. I went to work in the bowling center where his owner, his sponsor back there, had a partner named Pee Wee Reese. And I got to know Pee Wee Reese. And what a mind that guy had, And I started playing ball on his nephew's softball team. We had a heck of a team. And then I started hanging around the tour. And I saw all these guys, all the great players in the 60s. You name them, anybody from the 60s, Dave Davis, Dave Sutar, Ritker, Don Johnson, all of them guys, Harry Smith, these guys were awesome. And I saw a bunch of other guys that had beautiful games. They couldn't crack an egg. And I thought, what are these guys? Well, they're out running around all night with different girls every night. They're drunk in the bar every night. And I'm thinking, wow, what a bunch of talent going to waste. Yeah. And opportunity, as the lefty started to dominate, to be a lane man on the tour. And I think I got the job because of my size. The guys didn't want to argue with me. I was pretty big. And they says, you'll never last. He says, you're going to start beating these guys up. And I started thinking about Hardwick, and I thought to myself, in order to be a great athlete, you got to have a great mind.
Yeah.
And I got to put up with this. And I would put up with it for, 800 tournaments as I was involved with. But I quit the job 5 times only because they got better offers as we were traveling around the country. Sure. Being the lane man, you're the low man on a totem pole. You talk about no money. I was making like $12,000 a year. And at that time, they gave you $30 a night or a day, per diem.
Yeah.
And that was for your room and board, laundry, everything. You couldn't even get a motel room for $30. So I started rooming with all these guys. Mm-hmm. And I roomed with Godman and Gerhardt and Glover and Joe Berardi, and just the good guys, the guys that were great bowlers, because I remember the old thing about my dad told me, hang around with the good guys. I could have hung around with a bunch of, marginal guys that would go out and have a lot of fun, but not be any good because their mind was warped,
Sure.
As soon as they left the ring in 10, oh, why me, start kicking ball returns. And as soon as you start doing that, you're losing,
Yeah.
You don't see Mike Albee kick a ball return. You don't see Parker Bone. You don't see all them great players kicking ball returns, acting like a bunch of nuts.
Right.
So anyway, I pursued that. And then when I was doing the lanes on the tour, toward the end of that career, I was working on the senior tour. And I was working with those guys. And, I knew all those guys from before. They were regular players on the tour in the 60s and 70s. Now in the 80s and 90s, they're seniors. And, boy, we had a great time. In the meantime, I'd always bowled league. I lived in Tucson. I bowled league. So when I went to work for Kegel, we started doing all these international tournaments and the high roller and the eliminator. I was doing that for a few years. And I was doing the regional program. And even a few junior tournaments got me involved. And so at the end, in 95, when I went to work for Kegel, I started thinking, I love bowling. And I've spent a lot of time in league when I was a kid, a lot of time in league when I grew up, a lot of time on the regular tour, a lot of time on the senior tour, eliminator, even did the ladies tour for a few tournaments. Man, I'm going to start working with the kids. I haven't worked with them yet because they're our upcoming generation. Without them, I'm going to pass along as much knowledge and information as I can to the kids. Yeah. So talked to my buddy Dave, who was in Michigan. He's in the Hall of Fame up there as a coach. And he kind of said, well, I can give you some seed money to get it started. What do you want to do? I said, I want to teach all these kids as much as we can, pass along knowledge, information, just like John Davis did with everybody that he ever met. Yeah. And so he says, all right, but how are you going to handle it? I says, well, we got to promote it. So the first thing I did was I got Sam, the artist, to draw a couple pictures. And then I got Brian. I says, I don't know anything about computers. I don't know the difference between a web page and a website and Molly's stockings. I don't know. And he don't have time to teach me, right? So he says, there's a book for dummies, you can read that. I couldn't find it. And then he says, well, I'm finding a 10-year-old kid out there. I says, Brian, I live in a senior citizens community. There ain't no 10-year-old kids out here. So I'm done. So I got to call him all the time. And he's got a son 10 years old. I'm sure he knows more than I do. So he didn't want me to bug him all the time. I don't blame him because he's got a family and all that. But he's not teaching me nothing. He told me about the QR one day. I thought, what the heck's that? QR?
Yeah.
I don't even know how to spell it, first of all. So anyway, the only thing I thought about was kids. When I was a kid, I had a quarter, that had to last me all week. That was my allowance. So these kids don't have any money.
Yep.
So I'm not going to charge them nothing to teach them whatever I can because, I've learned everything from somebody else. I've never invented anything. And so I got together with these guys. I said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to promote it as much as we can. We won't charge them. If they sign up, we'll give them a prize. In fact, I gave them the first 50 a book. The book I wrote, it's a $30 book or whatever. And then we give them keychains and all kind of things. If they just send in a question to me, like, I hate your show. You're too loud. You're too quiet. What happened?
He said, that chat about the QR code was a blast.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he's a beauty, that guy, Brian. Yeah, he's a ball buster. But, yeah, so all these new things. And every month, some kind of an upgrade comes to your computer. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
I don't have the lady sitting next to me. So anyway, if they just send me a note, I like your show, I send them a prize, bowling prize, something. If they call me up and tell me your show sucks, okay, good. Tell me what I should do. How am I going to improve that?
Yeah.
Well, we started out first time it was about 10 people the first week. And then we'd get one a day, okay?
Okay.
And then this one kid, Brandon Steen.
Rush.
Rush. Yeah.
Rushstein.
Brendan's his dad, who
Yep.
I'm going to have on next. And I was talking to his dad on the phone, and he goes, well, you better interview him. That's fine. So Sam drew a picture of him, and then we had him on a couple of times. And man, this kid's awesome. I mean, he's like a scratch bowler. He's a hell of a golfer, a fisherman. He's mature. He sends me a note. It's like 2 pages long, no misspelled words. He knows everything. He's like 14.
Yeah.
And that Abagania, the gal, Caitlin, and then with Mason, that's Brian's little kid. And then the Potter boy, he works out at Kegel. This kid's 220. I mean, he's 12 years old. I mean, I couldn't believe how much talent's out there.
Yeah.
And so, man, I'm all in with the kids. So we do
So-
whatever we can for these kids.
Yeah, let's kind of comb through all of that. I did reach out to Brian and kind of asked him how he got involved. He said that you knowing his son Mason as a youth bowler and knowing that he's good on the computer and media side, he said it was just a perfect fit to have him join the cast for the Junior Bowling Club. I guess, how did that first conversation go?
Well, I met him a few years back at Bowl Expo. He was helping this lady, Jackie of all trades, and she was helping everybody because I would do my radio show from Vegas, and she knew how to do all that kind of stuff and set it all up. And then one year she brought Brian. He was helping her, and she needed a muscle. He was carrying boxes around, and she'd say, do this, do that. And he did this and he did that. And I'm thinking, I need a young guy for his computer stuff. And I knew that he knew about that. So I called him up. I says, hey, you want a job where you work for nothing? And he goes, do what? I said, working with a kid. He goes, I'd love it. So it was that simple. I says, you got to teach me this computer. Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. But, he didn't know how dumb I was.
But yeah, that's great because he certainly seems to be a big fan of not only what you do with the sport in general, which you always say we need more of. We got to have that.
We do, and I often think, like baseball. I've always been a baseball nut, and I grew up with the Pacific Coast League out here in San Francisco, where I was living when I was young, and then all of a sudden, the Dodgers moved out west to L.A. and the Giants moved to San Francisco. Yeah. And I thought, wow, man, that's weird. Why? Well, they wanted to expand the league, okay? They wanted to get the West Coast involved. And I thought, man, all that these guys went through, the ball players had to move their families, blah, 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 West Coast, East Coast. And sometimes you got to make a big change to make things different. So they did it. And you know what? The NFL, they went from 12 teams to 16 and then 18, and now they're up to 30 or some damn thing. So you got to keep advancing. And if we leave our kids behind, we're going to leave the sport behind. So Sam is he's a scratch bowler. Sam Villarreal, he's an artist. He's a genius. He's a golfer. And just like Dave Kowalski back in Michigan, he's a scratch bowler. One heck of a coach. He loves junior bowling. And Brian, same thing. Here's 4 guys. We don't make a penny. In fact, one day, Brian says, I got to send out these stickers for the kids. We made up these stickers, and we're going to give one to each kid, plus a membership card. And, postage now, it's like 60 cents to send out a little letter. So you send out a couple hundred of those, all of a sudden, wow, you're broke. And I says, well, give me a receipt. He goes, I'll cover it. You got no money? Wow. He says, that's all right. So I sent him $20 because it cost him like 100. So someday when we get rich, I'll put it in my will.
There you go. Well, I'm guessing you don't get to, you send these things off, you send off the books and the gifts, and you don't really get to experience what it's like to see when the kids get them. So fortunately, my son was one of the charter members. I believe he was number 8. So I did, kind of keep a camera rolling while he was opening his little gift. So you can at least take a look,
That's cool.
But tell me what it was like kind of growing this thing. I mean, it didn't get to 100 right away, right?
No, it took 100 days to get to 100. Actually, about one a day. Well, I thought he also got a book. Didn't he
He
get a
did.
book?
Yeah. I wasn't as quick on the trigger when the book came in.
Okay, very good. I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we send him bag tags. We got all kind of things, little stuff that kids like. And so, yeah, I figure kids, my next move is what I want to do, but I got to get Brian to do it, is put all the kids' names on our website, because I remember when I was a kid in high school playing baseball, football, man, when I put my name in the newspaper, wow, look at this, Ma. I'd run them. So these kids, they're not used to being fawned over on media.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to get every one of these kids, because they love the prizes. They don't write letters and all that. They send me a note now and then. Thank you very much. But I want to have them get elevated. Because someday, I can foresee, someday some rich guy is going to be going into a bowling center on a Saturday morning and see some of these kids with our bag tag on their shirt or somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going, what's all this about? These kids are bowling there. They're in a membership club. He's going to go, that sounds good. What can we do?
Yeah.
And who knows? There's rich guys all over the place.
Maybe they'll see some of this, right?
Maybe they'll see some of this. Exactly.
Right here. This. Yeah.
Is that Connor?
That's Carson.
I mean, Carson, yeah.
Yeah.
What am I thinking Connor for? Jesus. Yeah.
Yeah. If you haven't guessed it, Dad can't put the camera down when he's around. So.
Well, good for you. Just like Brendan, I think I mentioned this the other day. He's going to be on my show, The Father.
Yep.
And this guy is so impressive. I said, well, when I interview you, I said, send me a resume. I don't know you. I've never met you. Send me a resume on yourself. The first 2 paragraphs were about his family.
Yeah.
Nothing about him.
Isn't that cool?
I've got a dog named Bowie. My son's this, my wife's that. And I'm thinking, what a man. He's not talking about I. He doesn't have that Navy disease, Everything was about his family. And I think, this guy's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I got to have him on the show. No wonder his kid is so sharp,
Sure. Apple never falls far from the tree.
No. Yeah. And all these problems going on in the country, I don't want to get political, which I won't. But, if the father ain't around, there's a good chance you're going to be in trouble.
Sure.
Unless you learn that. And, I was very fortunate. My dad passed away when I was young, but he already had a chance to teach me all that. And by introducing me to sports, man, the only trouble I got in was that grass stain on my pants when I come home. My mother said, I can't get that grass stain out. I said, Mom, I'm at the park all day playing baseball, football.
Yeah. No. So let me get into some of these comments too. Jay asks everybody, how many PBA tour titles do you have? So he's got to ask you, how many PBA titles do you have?
Me?
Yeah, you.
I never bowled the tour. I bowled one tournament.
Yeah.
On the tour, I was a lane man. I was a lane man. The only reason I bowled was because they needed one more guy to fill up the squad because they didn't want to have a threesome on the pair. And so they begged me to bowl. And I did. And I shot 300. It was a miracle. It was a miracle, I swear to God. In fact, one of my best friends, Jay Robinson, I was crossing with him. Everybody's looking at me laughing because nobody ever saw me bowl. I was a big old fat lane man. And so with 2 games to go, I was 100 pins ahead of Jay. And he says, if you beat me, I'll kill you. And Jay wasn't a big guy. And I says, Jay, just roll the ball, man. You're forcing it. And he went 259 to edge me out of the last cash spot. But yeah, that's a true story. It's a miracle. I did bowl one regional in Santa Maria, the same situation, and I shot 300. So, I don't know, God was looking down on me, whatever it was, but there's no way, shape, or form I was anything like a pro bowler. None.
Yeah. So Brian says Mason's here watching too. He wants to remind you that he's now 11.
Well, I missed it. No, I didn't miss his birthday. I saw it. Yeah. I should have remembered that. I only got 148 kids to think about, Brian.
That's
give me a
right.
break.
Yep. He says, no sleep tonight.
Yeah. We're up to 148, by the way.
Yeah. Brian wants to know, why doesn't Carson Bowl WYBT? We're still kind of finding our way here. He's done the Pepsi tournament a couple times. He's, with mixed results, but there could be a Carson Pfeffer sighting at a WYBT someday. I'm not ruling that out. Ace Peckett says you, and he says, hi guys. Hi Ace, thank you for joining us live here. Now's a good time, to remind people that if you're here live, doesn't cost you anything to subscribe. We're trying to get to 2,000 subscribers. Hover over that little logo on the bottom right and subscribe to the channel, and you'll be the first to know when we post new videos and go live. So you mentioned Brian, I'm sorry, Brandon Steen, and
Yes,
his son Rush. He was number 100. You mentioned about having him on and how he's a great bowler, but when his I want to say application or his interest in the club came in, and you knew you hit 100, what was that like for you?
Well, that was the very first goal that we hit, and another thing I've learned, I've always wanted to improve my mental game, because I knew that was the most important thing. I don't care if you're a second baseman for the Yankees or you're running for president or whatever. If you don't think positive 100% of the time, you're out to lunch. Just like you on the show. When you started, you thought, I think I can do this. And then you kept going, and pretty soon now it's very successful. So if you don't have a positive mind, so I wanted to read up a little bit on the mind. Okay. So I went into the library one day and I says, I want a book on the positive attitude. And the lady said, over there. And there's like 1,000 books on the shelf. And I says, well, what if I wanted to study about Somalia? Well, there's 3 books over there about that. So depending on what it is, and I started thinking, well, what if I was a doctor and I had a broken finger? Well, any guy in the emergency room can fix that. Yep. But how many people can operate on your brain? That's the most expensive doctor. In other words, they can't see the problem. They got to talk to you to find out. So if you got a problem mentally, people can't see it. That's why psychiatrists and psychologists cost the most money to go see, because you don't know what's going on in the mind. Because and I don't want to get into a whole thing because I'm nowhere near a doctor, but the subconscious is really what rules you. Yep. We don't even realize it. It makes you breathe. It makes you blink. It makes your heart beat. All these things you have no control over. And unless you can control your whole self, your physical game with your mental game, you got no chance, because more bad things happen during the day, or even when you're bowling one game, more bad things happen than good. Very rarely do you throw 10 balls in the pocket and leave 8 4-9s. You might leave 2 4-9s, but then the other 6 you'll get strikes. So, you're going to get some bad breaks. You're going to get some good breaks, but over the course of time, they pretty much all break even over a career. Okay. So I started studying the mental game, and I think that's the most important thing I want to pass along to all these kids out there, because, a lot of times you'll see somebody that's a decent bowler and they'll throw it in the pocket, leave a 10-pin, and they'll walk back and they're nodding. Yeah. Instead of damn, or darn, or whatever. So they accept negative, and they get a strike and they'll go like that, What the heck, what's up? You got a positive response over a negative action down there. I want everything to be positive. You wake up in the morning, you have a choice. You can smile or you can frown. You can be an ass or you can be a nice guy,
Yeah.
And the more positive you are, the more people you're going to attract. The more people you attract, the more chance you have to be successful. So, sure. I don't know. The other thing, it's a small thing, but Bob Hope, George, what was that guy's name? The funny guy?
Burns?
George Burns. All those great comedians were all 100 years old before they died.
Yeah.
Why? because they're smiling all the time. They're having fun. Instead of these guys, this guy the other day just passed away, 50 years old, with a guy in Friends. He was depressed all the time. So, you can choose what you want to be.
Yeah.
So anyway, Dr. Nicholson is done for a minute on that.
That's okay. I can take it from here because I did reach out to Brandon, and I wanted to know about his experience with having Rush as the 100th member. So what he told me was, first of all, to hear that my son Rush was the 100th member was really cool. He said, any opportunity you have to create exposure for yourself within the sport you love is awesome, especially when it's with a legend like Len. He said, hearing that Rush had an opportunity to talk to and get to know Len a bit was pretty neat for me. He said, what a great guy. This has given me the chance to talk to him quite a bit as well, and I have loved our conversations.
What a man that guy is. I'm telling you, I didn't know you talked to him. Oh, yeah. I didn't know it was coming up on this show. And like I said, that guy's just one heck of a man. And anybody that starts talking about their family before they start talking about themselves is good in my book, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
I'll brag about him forever.
But there's more, because I asked him, along with Rush being the 100th member, I wanted to know his thoughts on it in general, kind of the big picture of the Junior Bowling Club. He said he thinks the concept of creating a space for youth bowlers to promote themselves within the club is pretty awesome. He said you had some great people behind you, not to mention Kegel. So he said this concept is a good one, and he believes a necessary one. He said kids these days have incredible talent, and there are a lot of opportunities out there for them. He says, I think that once this club grows, he says it increases the awareness of these possibilities for the kids. Depending on where they wanted to take it, he said it could also be a good place for people within the bowling industry to recognize these kids within the club. He said only time will tell, I guess, with that. He said it's funny that I asked him about that, because he was just telling Rush, that he wanted to go to you and see if there's anything that you wanted him to do to help. But the other thing is, he says he thinks programs like yours and like Storm Evolution and things like that are huge for the future of youth bowling. He says we just need to keep finding ways of advancing it. He said maybe someday, at some point, it will help us become an Olympic sport. You just never know. So, tell me about the goals of this, because he's got some pretty big ideas as far as the potential that this club has.
Yeah. Once again, I had no idea you were going to talk to him. You should have him on your show too. The he's knowledgeable. He told me, I've had about 3,800s and about 65 300s, but I don't bowl. So, I like to go play golf, and then I like to take my son out and relax and fish. All those kind of things is all positive as far as I'm concerned. This guy, I wish I could open up a school and have him be like a mentor to the kids, because his kid's going to be a success. Maybe not even bowling. Who knows? Whatever comes along. Anytime you're a successful person, you're usually pretty versatile. So, hopefully he does become a bowler. Maybe, actually, it might be better if he becomes a golfer, because of the money difference.
More money.
And all that. Yeah. But who knows? We don't know what's going to happen. There's no more Nostradamuses around to actually predict what's going to happen. Our first goal, and nobody thought we'd do it, is get 100. Then he says, you got 100 because it's free. Okay, well, you tell them, I'm going to send you a bottle opener or a keychain or something. Please sign your name. They got to go to their parent and say, I want to sign up. What is it? Who is that guy? Got to wonder who that's putting this thing on for free. Some weirdo, So you got to put yourself out there, let them know who you are. And, fortunately, you've maintained a good reputation. And now, so the next goal is going to be 150. We're only 100. We're 2 away from that. Okay. So after this show, I'm sure we'll get a couple more.
I was going to say, I might have a lead for you here, because Jay just posted on Can you explain more about how the club works and what's involved with being a member? I'm not familiar, but it sounds interesting. Thanks. I know he's got a son too.
Okay, under 18 is what we're looking for, kids.
Mhm.
And what we want to do is promote the kids, okay? And we want to give them a platform where I'm going to pick a kid like every 4 or 5 weeks to be on the show based on his performances, her performances, or even if they got a great personality. I don't even care if they average 220 or 120,
Yeah.
because who knows if they get a good mental thing from starting out being a bowler, they might turn out to be a designer of women's clothes someday. And they'll say, man, if it wasn't for that bowling, back in the day, I would never be what I am now.
Yeah.
And you can get their confidence that way. And there's been a lot of guys, baseball players I know, that started out as being bowlers,
Mhm.
and then he turned over a new leaf and went to another sport. So bowling is an avenue to get started. And so once we get to 150 people, we're going to say, okay, our next goal is 200. And by then, word's going to travel. And this gentleman that is interested, I want to give the site that he can go look it up. All right.
Right here, right?
Yeah.
Kegel.net/Phantom Radio JR.
Yes. They can go there to sign up. And then we've got a website. We're still working on it. Brian's got 28 jobs, He says I'm kind of crazy, but you know what? So is John Davis.
Mhm.
So is Bill Chrisman. So is some of these guys, Elon Musk,
Mhm.
all them weirdos were all strange. Bill Gates in the garage with his buddies, getting 2 tin cans of string. Yeah. There's that one song, I can't think of what it is, but all the weirdos thinking out of the box, they're all the geniuses. So, so we're going to do it. We've got the talented guys to do it right now. So the 4 of us, who knows? Somebody else might want to be a volunteer. If they can contribute, they're welcome to join, because this isn't a closed thing. We're not here to make money. We're here to promote the kids and get these kids out there. They're already trained. They already know how to drill a bowling ball. They've already gotten a lot of good lessons. Now let's give them some promo. Let's let people know about it. And there are some wonderful tournaments out there, the Coca-Cola tournaments or whatever they got going on. They've got a lot of good things, but nobody knows about it. Who's bowling? They don't know who's bowling in it.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll get the champion of the next big tournament to come on. He might be a future member of our gang here. So, yeah.
So, like you said, you've got the 4 of you, you've got the will to do this and putting in the time and effort and all that. But in order for this to continue, I know you're looking for boosters too. What does it take for parents and other adults out there to be a booster and to help you in this effort?
Okay, we haven't really advertised that a lot, but obviously we're going to need some boosters as time goes by, because we're giving everything away, and you can't just continue to do that unless you are a Elon Musk or somebody like that. We've drawn up a small program called the Boosters. Anybody that wants to be involved, they will be on our website every day, their name or their family name or whatever they want to put on there. Or they can come on as fictitious, or no, what's that word?
Anonymous.
That's what I said. Yeah, anonymous. You're the best. I got to get you on here to be the English teacher of the whole show. Yeah, anonymous. They can do that, and then all that is they've got a little bit extra. They're already investing in their kids. Okay, they're sending them down to the bowling centers. They're sending them down. They're getting new shoes, new balls, new shirts, whatever. So they're already investing to some degree. And a lot of people can't afford it. That's fine. If you can't afford it, you can help us out, because, as I mentioned earlier, postage is killing us. I mean, it kills everybody. The only thing that we don't have now is travel, which is the other biggest expense when you have a company. And that killed the PBA when I was back there then, because they had 28 guys on the executive board. They're all flying in first class, staying at the penthouse, all renting cars and doing that 2 or 3 times a year. That expenses eat you alive.
Sure.
So we don't have any of that. And yeah, it's $250 for lifetime. And we put their name on the website. I'll announce their name on the show. Every show I announce it, who our sponsors are, just like you do, and our boosters. So if they're interested, that'd be wonderful.
Yeah, for sure. So where do you go from here? You've got your goals. You want to get the 150 and the 200 and all that stuff. You want to keep this thing viable as long as you can. What's the ultimate goal for the club?
Okay. This is one thing I learned a long time ago. Whether you're starting out as a bowler, you're starting out as a mechanic, or whatever you're starting out as, you set an immediate goal.
Mhm.
Okay. I want to learn this in 3 months. And then 6 months, I want to do this. And then that's a secondary goal. Okay.
Yeah.
And you have an ultimate goal, something that you can't reach until you've done it for 20 years. Okay. I want to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen from one 300 game that you bowl. That's going to be a career thing.
Yeah.
So when you set up your immediate goal, you make it something that you can reach. Okay. And ours was 100 members. Okay. That was the first goal. Now the second goal is 200. And then we'll replace this one of 100, because now our immediate goal pretty soon is going to be 200. That's going to be our immediate goal. Then we'll put on another one, a secondary goal after 200. And in my mind, I'm no Eddie Elias and I'm no Nostradamus, as I said, but maybe, I just hope, maybe we'll get 300 members. At 300 members, I would like to throw on a tournament for all the people in our membership group. And we might do it somewhere in the Midwest, somewhere, Indianapolis. My friend Nick Hoagland, who I want him to be on your show one of these days. He's a smart guy. He's a lane guy. He went to Indiana State. He's a bowling nut.
Oh, in Indiana, not Indiana State, right?
Well, I'm not sure. Which
There's a difference.
Yeah, I know there is. But
just ask Larry Bird.
Very good. And you know what? And I know Nick now for 30 years, but I don't know what the school was, to tell you the truth.
I think it was
one of the Indiana schools.
Yeah.
But maybe somewhere there. I get a sponsor and then have groups like women, girls 10 and under, or girls 18 to 12 or something,
Sure.
Have a couple of different divisions, all handicapped, get them all together. They all probably can't come because it's going to be expensive. But that's why if you get like a three, right now we couldn't do it because we don't only get maybe 4 or 5 in each category. That wouldn't be a very good tournament. Right. But once we get to 300, that'll be enough kids that are available that they might be able to come to some big time tournament. And we've got some connections, not a lot. I know the PBA's having troubles with getting TV and all that kind of stuff. But you know what? The brand new kid on the block sometimes gets the sugar. So if I have a tournament with 4 kids groups, boys and girls from 18 or 17 to 12, and then from 11 down to 0, and it's all handicapped, man, I'll tell you what, that might be cool. I got the chills thinking about it.
Yeah.
But it's a secondary goal now. Okay. Sure. Our first goal now, immediate goal, is going to be 200. Okay.
And Brian's working toward getting you there. He mentioned that he will be at the Junior Hall of Fame tournament on the 12th at Bolero Wauwatosa. If anyone has questions, a great event that's thrown by my friend Shannon Lubinsky in the Milwaukee area. So certainly a hotbed of junior bowling. Hint, hint, juniors. See Brian, and maybe you can get closer to that goal of 200 members there. So. You mentioned it before, but it wouldn't be this show if I didn't have you go off the sheet by challenging someone to be on a future episode. Now, the last time you were on, you challenged Sherry White, and we've gone back and forth a couple times. She knows that you want her on this show. She knows that I want her on this show. Hasn't taken the leap yet, and I haven't pushed very hard, but maybe someday Sherry will come on. But, you're on the show twice, so let me know, who else do you think would be a good guest for a future episode?
Well, you know that Sherry worked so hard. She's
Yeah.
like Brian.
Yep.
I called her at 4 o'clock in the morning one time because I didn't call her. I sent her a text because I wanted to know something. She answered me right back. She don't sleep. She's a nut. She's an owl, you know. And
Yeah.
she says, "What are you doing up?" I said, "I never sleep. Sleep's a waste of time." But yeah, she is such an organizer. She's got I don't know how many hundreds of people down there in Vegas bowling tournaments morning, noon, and night. But she's awesome. I'll work on her too. I'm going to
Okay.
tell her I was on the FEP, which she advertised that anyway. I saw it on the thing.
Yeah.
She wrote it in there.
Mhm.
But the other guy I mentioned already, Nick Hoagland. There's another junior guy, bowler, lover. He loves the kids.
Mhm.
And he has that big Hoosier Classic out there
Yeah.
every year. They got thousands and thousands of dollars from it's a Columbia 300 or something. He's got what do you call a major sponsor for that thing.
Yeah.
He's had me come back there do the lanes for his tournament because he says, "Kids, I want them tough." He says they've never seen the spray gun condition, you know. So I went down there. It was kind of funny because they didn't know it was going to be the final day. He had like 4 days of qualifying, all on different patterns, and then he had me out there to do the finals. And these kids are wondering, what's this spray gun? I've never heard of spray gun.
Yeah.
And they threw their first practice ball, and I almost got pneumonia from them running back to the back to get another ball. I mean, he had his 64 lanes, I think it is. There's like 4 guys. It's 200 kids ran up to the. I'm freezing. I'm laughing. What are you laughing at, you sadist? You know. I says, well, you know, you guys should have understood that it's not going to be walled up.
Mhm.
It's the old time condition, you know.
Yeah.
But most of the coaches liked it because nowadays that's another thing that's weird. I got a fly. I caught it. The kids nowadays want the lanes tough.
Yep.
It's unbelievable.
They do.
I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that would be great. And I think Nick would be fantastic. I will, you know, you're going to help me get connected with him. So I'll reach out and hopefully he'll come on the show. Because yeah, I think he's got a fantastic story and, you know, some great perspective, not only in the competition sense, but also in the lane maintenance sense, like you have.
Yeah, he's a heck of a bowler too. He had some kind of a record at the ABCs or USBC one year.
Yeah.
I don't know if he bowls anymore or not, but he was also the lane man in the Midwest region for a long, long time.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, he's knowledgeable, good personality, and loves the kids. So
yeah, good stuff. Well, hopefully he'll take us up on that. In the meantime, you may know, or at least know of, our next guest who's coming on, and that's this gentleman. You remember him from winning the Shark Championship this last year on the PBA
sure
Tour?
do. That guy's eyes scare me, man. That guy, he looks at you and you feel like running away. I'll tell you. That is intensity. I'll tell you what a bowler he is, though. I'll tell you.
Yeah, he is. He's Matt Ogle. And yeah, that incredible moment in 2023 when he won his first singles championship. That makes him a 2-time tour champ. He'll be joining us on Tuesday, November 7th, 7 p.m. Central, to share his bowling story, including what that moment in Wauwatosa was like for him and how he's preparing for the new tour season. Which, of course, we talked a lot about in the beginning of this episode because it's coming soon. Len, I want to thank you again for coming on twice now, for the friendship, and best of luck to you with this endeavor with the juniors. I think it's a great way to give the juniors some props for all they do for our sport and will do in the future.
Well, I really appreciate that, and I love that your format, this platform that you have to get all different kind of bowlers out there, not only the top bowlers, but you got some middle class, middle average type bowlers. Mm-hmm. And the only thing I'm disappointed is you only got one kid to be a member of our club. Why don't you get busy back there when it starts snowing?
We're gonna have to start, pushing this in the junior league because Carson goes every Saturday, so we've got some kids over there, and I'm sure they would love this. But Jay says Ogle does look intense. That's for sure. Brian had said there will be a card in every kid's gift bag too. He means at the Junior Hall of Fame tournament, so watch for that, Junior Hall of Fame bowlers. He says, great show. Jay says, thanks for a great interview. And Brian says it's snowing now. And we had that a couple days ago. So yeah, that's from us to you, Brian.
Yeah,
I don't know if Len will be getting that anytime soon.
I think I mentioned that before. My granddaughter got a scholarship to go back to Ripon in baseball. And, she's a spoiled brat from California. I told her son, my son, I said, she'll be home in 6 months. Oh, no. And she sent home 3 pictures of the snow the day before yesterday. I said, she's already getting cold. It hasn't even got bad yet back there. So.
There's a long way to go this fall and winter. Hopefully she's plenty hardy, because in Wisconsin you need to be. But yeah, thanks again for coming on, and thank all of you for watching. Always appreciated, and we will see you again next week.